Welcome to the Jay Franzi Show, your source for the latest news, reviews, and interviews, with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard.
Just so I could piss right next to Tom Petty.
Garth turned out to be the most loyal artist of all time.
Smoked weed with Willie.
That was the most surreal, pinching moment.
So I knew I already had a strike against me.
Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
And we are coming at you live. I am Jay Franzi, and if you are new to the show, this is your source for the latest news, reviews, and interviews. And if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jayfranzi.com. All right, my friends, tonight we have very special guests with us tonight. That's right, I said it, guests, plural. We have recording artists hailing from the great state of Ohio. We have the band Archer's Gate. Guys, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us.
It is my pleasure to have you here, even Joe.
Yeah, Joe made it in at the wire.
He came in right at the end. That's awesome. Thank you for joining, sir. Let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell me where the name Archer's Gate came from?
Archer's Gate. So it's like a terminus. It's like a beginning and an end. It's like a passageway, an earned passage, if you will. Like Metamorphosis, it's going through the gate.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's set the scene a little bit, because we've got the entire band here today, which is awesome. Thank you all for joining. I do appreciate it. But let's start with a little bit of foundation. Let's just do a roll call. Emily, you're lead vocal, so why don't we start with you? What primary roles do you play in the band?
Well, I'm obviously the singer. I think that we work really well together. We all collaborate well. I write a lot of the lyrics, melodic ideas, vocal melodies, harmonies. I'm a harmony person. But I think that musically the band, I would say, equally contributes to the building of a song.
So the band as a whole, you all contribute to lyrics as well?
Not all, but some, yes.
And you mentioned you're a harmony person. So do you feel like that gives your music an edge over others in the same genre?
As long as we can sing it right.
Right. So
think
she comes up with the harmonies and makes the rest of you suffer through them.
Depends on the nose.
The singer comes up with the technical stuff. I like it. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that there's power in one voice. So I think there's bands out there that don't do a lot of harmony, that it's just as powerful. But I've always been able to build harmony really easily. And so it's just something that I like to, it's kind of cool how it happens in the studio. It happens a lot in the studio. A lot of times I'll do it kind of in the moment of when we're recording, which is really fun. But yeah, Jake and Joe, they kind of help carry some of those harmonies. I know Justin sings too. He's newer to the group, so in the future, I'm sure he'll be throwing in some harmonies with us too.
We're all getting mics.
Yeah.
Everyone has a mic. All right, Jake, let's go on to you. So what's the primary role that you take?
I am the drummer. Play drums, make beats, the rhythms. Definitely like to partake in harmony, kind of, going off what Emily said. And in some cases, it's like been a lost art with a lot of music, and something we've like really wanted to own in on, and past bands that we've all collectively been in. It was kind of a staple as part of it for what we did, and just it never goes out of style. So, yeah, drums, harmony. I kind of help out with like booking. Like she said, we all have our part. I'm big on merchandise. I like to be OCD about merchandise and selling it, and just kind of in order. So yeah,
I like that. I can appreciate somebody with OCD. Thank you. I guess people don't typically think of a drummer singing, especially harmonies. So is it difficult for you to do that?
No, not after. I mean, again, it's muscle and muscle, and it's just kind of practicing it and doing it over and over again. Something we've been big on over the years is having like even a cappella practices and really just getting that engaged and that becoming second nature, while you can get back to your first instrument and kind of have those collectively work together. So I think it just comes down to practice it and doing it more And I have to pace myself because sometimes there's a little more excitement and synergy in the room, and I have to calm myself because then I find myself getting out of breath. So got to bring myself back down to earth. But yeah, got to keep that good balance between the two and kind of stay in that zone.
All right, Joe, you're the other one that joins in on the harmonies. So what else do you have to add?
Justin and I, so far so good on kind of like sharing guitar harmonies to switch gears like to the instruments. So there's that, which I think is good. Kind of keep things 50-50 there. As far as what I do, I guess kind of meat and potatoes with the songs, whether they're like in their infancy or whether they're like more well polished. I, just bring ideas to the table. So songs kind of go from there. And then also I do my best to, Justin's really good at the tech stuff. So I try to help with that, like getting gear moved, like everybody else go to the merch table and I'll try to strike the stage or, get stuff loaded in the van, so a little more of, I guess, the muscle, the things, but yeah.
Justin, Mr. Tech.
Yeah, I play guitar, like Joe said, kind of switch off lead and rhythm depending on the song and kind of where we're feeling. I mean, sometimes within a song, it's not just Joe's the lead on this song and I'm the lead on that song. We're typically switching back and forth, whether it be covers or originals. Same with writing. A lot of it is coming from both of us, bringing our heads together, and then we kind of piecemeal out those things. As far as roles otherwise within the band, I am kind of the tech guy. I've built our rack setups. I take care of making sure that all of our inner monitors sound good and all that fun stuff, just keeping up with what we need to keep putting on a professional live show. I also do a little bit of the production work with Josh, being the second set of ears there as we go into writing, recording, and getting the mixes ready to send off for polish and all that fun stuff.
Now, normally in rock or metal music, we don't typically find two guitar players, especially when they trade off on leads or play harmonies within it. That's more of a, I'll say, southern rock or country thing. I mean, do you find you have influence from those genres?
I think there's cases to be made for a lot of bands' recordings that even if they go out and they've got like one guitar member, they're laying multiple tracks, right? And kind of building those harmonies and the dynamics, and we just take it the step further and have a live person. You have bands going all the way back to like grunge and stuff like that brought in second guitarists. So we're just taking that to the next step, which is trying to keep some of the background elements going and the dynamics going while we're kind of trading off those things.
Josh, my friend, you've got a couple things of interest I want to talk to you about. But one is a 6-string bass.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the funny-looking instrument in the band. So yeah, I'm just the bass player, but I do have some crazy-looking basses.
You're the lead bass player, Josh.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome, Justin. Thanks.
I don't know about that one, but outside the bass, I'm heavily involved with the production, particularly the pre-production of the music. So we'll do a lot of scratches and skeletons and trying to get stuff in as good of a place as possible before we get to the studio, so that way the engineer has a good direction for how we want to go with the songs. And then I'll be kind of the liaison between the band and the engineer to get everything the way we want it to sound. And that's something that Justin's involved with as well. So a lot of the guitar and bass stuff be involved in just the overall recording and sort of pre-mixing for it. And then all of the drums and vocals, those are completely out of my hands because I don't even want to get involved in that.
So we got Justin, or as we're calling him, Mr. Tech, and then we have you doing all sorts of pre-production. Are either of you trained in that area?
Justin is, but I am not. I know nothing.
I went to Full Sail
That's not true.
for music production. So
did you really?
That's why I'm using it for our live sound. I'm using it to help out Josh with mixing. He's got most of that stuff under control. I'm really, like I said, just kind of another set of eyes to make sure nobody's going nuts while they're days and days deep in mix.
That's funny. Just side note, when did you go to Full Sail?
I graduated in 2022. So I started in 2020. It's like a 2-year program or so.
Yeah, I used to teach there. So
nice.
I left before you arrived.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. All right, so let's get into the writing process, if you don't mind. Can you kind of walk me through whoever takes the initial steps into the writing process?
Sometimes it's just different. Sometimes somebody has a guitar lick that they are wanting to show us, and then a lot of times when I hear a medley or something played, it kind of gives me an idea in my head of like, how does it make me feel? Sometimes I'll have like a song idea that I'll present to them, like, hey, I really want to write a song about this. I have this like idea of like meat and potatoes of what I want it to be about. So I think it's different. Some of the band has songs that they've been sitting on that they've written over the years. I have song ideas. I have vocal medleys that I'll pull out from my voice memo that I have saved from just years of just me driving in the car and just, oh yeah, I like the way that sounds, and save it, or like a notepad of like a lyric that I'll hear, or somebody will say something that I'm like, oh, that's a really cool line. Or I think like I can speak for everyone and say that it kind of just depends on what it is, and it's different every time. I feel like that we have written together.
Joe's come with some ideas, Justin's come with some ideas, Josh has come with some ideas, and then we kind of stem it from there, and we kind of bounce it back and forth. So they all kind of evolve in their own way, you know. Some may be more done than others, and some we collectively like are right in the room. So I don't think there's an exact formula to how we do it, but it is a myriad of ideas between the guys.
All right, so Josh mentioned pre-production earlier. So when you guys are writing songs, whether it be from a musical piece first, where you're going to then get spark an idea for lyrics, or whether it be a lyrical piece first, where you're going to go ahead and put the music down, what is the process of taking that song to a demo stage?
Yeah, we'll go through rehearsing it in the practice space, but obviously you can't quite hear everything the way you want to hear it in the practice room. So then we'll come into my studio and we'll lay things down there, and it's usually just very scratch. So we'll have scratch guitars, bass, vocals, and then just an electric kit into the feeder. And then from there, we'll have that shell so everybody can hear what's going on. And then new ideas start coming up once you have that laid down. Maybe I start putting some pianos or pads or things like that in certain sections. Hey, what do you guys think about this? And then we're able to start building off. I would say it's very rare that something goes into pre-production and stays exactly the same. Especially, Emily mentioned this earlier, when we actually go to the real studio and she's doing vocal parts, there's a lot of stuff that comes up with the vocal parts and just with the way she sings something, with the harmonies, so on and so forth. And obviously, we really want to make sure that those are coming through in the front and that we're building around the vocal parts and not doing too much in those sections, which can happen sometimes. So I would say that it changes very consistently from the practice room until we get the final copy back.
It's funny you mentioned that. I mean, if you wanted to take it to the nth degree, your song can change years down the road. You can constantly be tweaking its art, and you're always going to have new ideas. But you mentioned going into the real studio, and I believe for the most part you guys record over at Sonic Lounge Studios. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you try to get the ideas down the best you can, but when you get in the studio, what does the role become then? Do you guys produce your own project, or do you take in a producer with you?
We do our own, but we work with the engineer that we work with is also a producer. He does a lot of collaborating with us for basically everything that we do, whether it's bass, guitar, vocals, like everything we do. And we give him direction on it, but we give him some freedom to add some things to it as well, which I think is important because, you know, we get so fixated on certain things, but it's, you've got to be able to have someone else listen to it and point things out to you that you might think sound good, but then you're like, oh, actually, never mind, you're right. We should change things up based on that. So we don't have a specified producer, but he kind of is.
You're saying he, is that Joe?
Yep, Joe Viers. Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, sorry. Yep, got to give the man the credit.
Yeah,
He's the
give
best.
him some credit for sure.
He's the best.
Yeah,
awesome.
I will say too, as a singer, I've recorded in several studios over the years, and for me as a singer, it's been hard to find somebody who was separated from being just an engineer. Like, I would work with people, and it was like I'd sing one line, one track, and they'd be like, "Oh, it sounds great," but then they're correcting guitars and things like that, and it just didn't feel like I was getting coached. Sometimes you just need somebody to take you to the next level that can hear when you're singing and just a little bit sharp or just a little bit flat. And there's different people throughout my lifetime that I've worked with who have been able to do that, but I will say Joe Viers specifically will take something that I'm trying to do and make me sing it 6 different times or 6 different ways, and then try to break it down on which one is the strongest one. And like, that's the difference between a producer and an engineer, that I think somebody who might be new at doing this kind of thing is like, there is a huge difference between somebody who's just recording you versus somebody who is producing you. And when you find a good producer, like it really just elevates things in such a way where they're not just recording what you're already doing, but they're taking what you're giving them and they're just taking it to a whole different level. And I think every song that we've done with Joe has turned out different, but better than what we brought him. And that's because he is such a great producer and engineer.
Well, it's an iterative process, right? We're delivering things to Joe at different points, and then he's taking over at different points, and then we're bringing it back and making changes and kind of going back and forth. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for both parties to really hear what's going on and hear new things. So like, as Josh was talking about, when we do those scratch tracks, some of those go to Joe to send Jake in, record the drums, get those locked in so that we have something to kind of like figure out and orchestrate as we break these parts apart and figure out how long this is going to go or that's going to go. And then Emily's got a good skeleton structure of what she's going to sing when, and then goes up and records with Joe. And that's going to bring back different melodies, different harmonies, a different way to really orchestrate some of those pieces, going a little bit longer. Joe's going to have ideas based on what Emily's done. And then we kind of go in and lay those final tracks, whether it be the synth, the guitars, bass, all of that stuff, with, I think, a lot of those ideas kind of in a basket for us, where we're kind of picking and choosing out of those things for the direction that we want that song to go. It's like we have an overabundance of pieces that we can kind of like sift through and figure out with Joe, with each other. On the latest recording with Metamorphosis, I mean, that went through a couple different iterations of hearing it and going back to Joe, and this is what we like, this is what we don't like. We want to showcase this, we want to pull this back, right? And it can really change how that song feels. It takes a long time to even get to that point where we're like, yeah, this is where we're at.
Does he also coach with guitar tones or bass tones?
Yeah, he does. We work together, I think, pretty well with that kind of stuff, because we send him the tracks and he'll have the ability to reamp them if he wants. Basically, if he wants to readjust the tones on them. But that's very rarely happened. I think we've had things pretty dialed in going into it. But what he does help out with big time is going to be the EQing on the parts. And I don't fully mix something before I send it to him. So the positioning he has on the guitars and bass is going to be a lot better than what I had it. So it's going to sound different and it's going to sound better. So we collaborate on that. But a lot of it actually is tips on how to better capture the sound from our side. So just like kind of more technical stuff, actually, like certain input gains and things like that. I always ask him, hey, what could I have done better this time? And he'll always give me some things about that. But it's usually not necessarily specific to playing or anything like that, unless it's like, oh, this is like a little out of tune. Can you resend me a new track or something like that?
So is that how things are working? You're recording a certain amount of the tracks at your own studio?
Yep. So we'll do like all scratch takes that we don't use at all. Then we'll send them to Joe's. Emily, Jake will go. They'll do all their own stuff. And then we'll do a combination of guitar, bass stuff, whether it might be at Joe's or at my house. It just depends on what's required for the takes. So it's kind of a combination of them both. And then Joe and I both use Pro Tools, so I can just send him a session. He'll be able to pull open the session with all of the stuff that I put on there. And in fact, I actually sent him what stuff I was using. He's like, oh, I'm going to pick up a copy of that, so that way you can just send me the session.
Right.
So we've got a very seamless relationship in that regard. A lot of the guitars, well, I could tell you all the bass stuff is I do that at my place because it's.
All right. Well, I have a question on that too, but first I want to finish the previous thought. You mentioned that he has the ability to reamp stuff. Mm-hmm. So does that mean you're recording a clean signal that you then send along with the tracks as well?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so we'll send them the clean stem so he can reamp it, whether it's running it through a live amp or digital amp.
Sure. Yeah. And you said you do the bass parts yourself.
Yep.
Do you provide a clean track for the bass parts as well? So is he doing any reamp or any, sorcery behind the scenes for your bass parts?
Yeah. It's typically best practice to have, if like, especially I have a little bit of dirt on my tone, so I'll send it to him with dirt and then just a straight clean one. A lot of the breadth of the bass remains in the clean channel, so it's very important for him to have that still so it doesn't sound all washy and weird.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to get to is on Metamorphosis, you have a bass tone that is very unique. So is that something that you came up with, or is that something that Joe came up with?
Yeah, that's me. That is a dark glass amp that's running through there. But I sent him the dark glass signal, of course, but then he's got a clean as well. I think a lot of the really thick low end stuff actually probably comes from the clean, but the distinctive dirt is from my dark glass amp.
Well, it sounds very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I like it a lot. I mean, that song just has a bite to it that is very, very cool.
It does, and just real quick, I'll say, but a lot of the low end stuff really comes from what Jake is doing on that song, because Jake's very aware of every single thing that everybody in the band's doing. So I would just encourage people to listen to the drums, literally just listen to the drums of that song, because all of the stuff he's doing is very coordinated with me, but everybody else in the band. So a lot of that low end thickness is actually from the drums.
All right, Jake, that brings us back to you. So as we're talking about drums, Josh mentioned earlier an electronic kit that he does pre-production with at his studio. Do you then go into the Sonic Lounge and replace it with live drums?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So, we'll get all our pre-pro there, and we're getting those ghost tracks done. Once we feel good about the basic meat and potatoes of it, we'll take that up, and then Emily and I will pretty much put the stamp of what is ultimately going to be the vocals and the drums there. I bring all my acoustic shells, mic them up, and then we'll kind of fine tune it from there after, like Josh said, and kind of teeter-totter between both studios depending upon what's needed to make the track happen. But yeah, acoustic drums, live and loud, got to be, but great to practice on the electronic ones for some pre-pro.
Because you don't hit softly, so
I especially don't.
No, he does not.
I can't imagine that would come through very well on an electronic kit. So the fact that you're playing in an acoustic kit like that is awesome. I do appreciate that as well. Now, you mentioned Emily, so let's go back to Emily for a second. Earlier you mentioned, Joe, that he coaches you through the recording process, and it's unlike people that you've worked with in the past where they don't just say, that was a great take, thank you. Now, does Joe have you sing the parts from start to finish a few times, or does he stop you and correct things as you go?
We usually do stuff in sections. So I have sang through songs from start to finish, but I like to build things vocally. So sometimes a chorus is going to be kind of a copy-paste type of thing. But I would say that we start-stop a lot.
All right. I know when we take vocalists into the studio, one of the things we typically do is we have them warm up and we record the first few passes as they're singing it. Mm-hmm. And then what we might do is then find some parts that might need a little bit of special attention, and we'll go back and focus on those parts.
Yeah, we start off singing the song all the way through.
Very nice. Joe, sir, you've been awful quiet over there. So do you record during the pre-production part, or do you record anything in the actual studio itself?
No, most of the stuff, pretty much all the guitar parts, like Josh says, we'll do the pre-production stuff most of the way there, if you will. Send it out, then Jake and Emily get it a go at it. They lay their tracks, and then we'll get it back. And at that point, Joe's cleaned up a lot of stuff. So almost all the way done there. Sometimes new ideas bloom from there because sometimes it's nice to finally step back and hear everything. So that happens sometimes more often than not, but sometimes you got to be able to stop and say no. And that's hard too. But usually by the time we get it back, most of the guitar stuff is done instead of, hauling amps all the way up to Joe's and recording up there. Like Josh says, he has everything to reamp stuff. So if we're not feeling the tone on something, it's not hard to. And I'm pretty easy to please, as long as it's a good distortion, sounds crunchy, and it's it's sweet to my ears. I'm happy.
Nice, I like that. You can tell that in your live performance that you're a very animated performer.
Thanks.
All right, so that saves the time, saves the money. Now, do all of you go into the studio for the mix process?
We all do try to be there when we can. Sometimes it can be odd schedules where, you've got a patch during the day where, maybe Jake can go play drums. But we obviously all love to be in the studio because not only is it helpful to hear everything, but it's also fun. That's like one of the most fun things, like everybody hanging out, listening, screwing around. So like not screwing around, but you get what I mean.
Right. Of course.
And
it's playtime.
Yeah. So like that's like one of the most fun things is being in the studio. So we try to be there when we can. It's not always the case. In terms of mixing, we haven't been there presently when Joe is like in a mix session. Obviously, we're there when he's kind of noodling on some stuff. But I know Jake and Joe they've worked with Joe Viers for a long time in previous groups as well. And they've stayed there for a few days to where they could actually be involved in the mixing session. So they could probably speak on that experience very, very well. But as far as what we've done, we just haven't had a super long session there. So usually it might be a couple days where you're in and out of pockets. But like, obviously it would be a lot of fun to be there when he's actually, mixing stuff and just discussing it live, as opposed, because right now I send him an email with notes and then he sends me back, here you go. Okay, cool. And that's how it goes. So.
No, that's a cool way of doing it as well. Justin, I know you're trained in it, so do you feel like there's ever a time that you want to be part of it?
I mean, I think as time goes on, so Metamorphosis was the first song that I got to work on with the band. So going through that process, a lot of the pre-pro stuff had already been done. So I think as we continue to go into these newer sessions with songs, we'll probably have some of that. And I think it'd be fun to go up and see Joe's process and kind of talk through it, because like Josh had kind of spoke to earlier, I think that being able to send those sessions back and forth gives us a good lexicon of how to talk back and forth, not just in the way that we want to be produced and the way that these things are starting to be produced together and kind of build towards greater bodies of work, but also like the patches we use for guitar and dialing those in, and then even taking that out to the live show on how we dial in what we use live to do those things, right? So the more involved that we can get with that process, I think that there's a long-term set of goals that go along with that. So it really just depends on, like everybody's kind of talked about, the time that we have to go up there and do it. Obviously, it's freeing for Joe to not have to like worry about when we're doing it. He can do it at whatever hours he wants when we're not there. But I do think that there's worth in being there for those mix sessions, especially as we start to kind of grow that body of work.
All right. Let's jump into the songs now. We've been talking about Metamorphosis, so let's go ahead and start there. Who wrote the lyrics or the primary lyric writer for that song?
I did.
Okay. You're on the hot seat, my friend. Can you go ahead and just give us a quick overview of what the song is about?
Yeah, so the song is about life transformation, the metamorphosis process. We kind of have a theme currently in the band with the butterfly. It's been kind of our brand since we've been together. And not just because it's feminine and beautiful, but I'm just fascinated with the process of caterpillar to butterfly and just some of the things that we don't always think about with a caterpillar and how it completely has to break down its body while it's in the cocoon. where it's literally not even a body anymore, and it somehow comes out this beautiful butterfly, and how the butterfly probably doesn't remember being a caterpillar, but the caterpillar also doesn't look up and wonder, like, am I going to fly one day? Every season is important and pivotal and necessary. You know, I think that every person that's watching right now, everyone in this band right now is in one of those seasons, whether it's searching, growing, isolation, figuring it out, or they're soaring right now. I'm just fascinated with that, and I had an idea to write a song about it, and it just totally became this beautiful, one of the best songs I think I've ever been a part of writing. Just what everybody brought to the table and how beautiful it came together. And for me personally, just in my own journey in my life with different hard seasons that I've gone through, that song was very emotional for me. I even remember when we were recording it, I was in the vocal booth, like just fighting back tears at certain periods of what's actually on the recording. I can hear it in my voice because I remember, like, I was trying not to cry because it's just so meaningful to me and so powerful. And so, yeah,
So what's that like for you when you're in the studio and feelings like that come across?
I don't know. I think you want, like, as an artist, you want people to feel what you feel with what you put into your songs. But everybody's going to have their own interpretation, so I don't even always like to give the full meaning necessarily, or like what exactly was in my head when I wrote this or that, because you know, everybody has a different version of interpretation of what it will mean and how it will impact them. And I think that that's the beauty of music, is that it speaks in different ways than what maybe the original meaning was for. But yeah, I think it's emotional for all of us to hear something that you've written be brought to life, and how it takes every part, you know, every instrument, every vocal line to create what you now hear, and it's all necessary and needed.
The whole song seems to step up. I've listened to your catalog quite a bit over the past few weeks, and it's like you can see some growth in the song. When I saw you guys perform live, you also had a recording at the beginning of your show that tied into the song as you closed the set with that song. So can one of you tell me where that recording came from and how you guys got it to tie into the closing of your set?
So Emily's very, very good at thinking of concepts for things, and she can paint them very well. So for me personally, that helps me because, like, I'm just going to make something up here, but if she says, hey, I want this Egyptian feel and Phrygian, well, I know what that means right away. And then she can put a bunch of stuff, and then I can, like, whether it's me doing stuff on the keyboard or guitar or bass, but just thinking of stuff. So anyway, that's what ended up happening with that introduction. We knew we wanted it to be tied with Metamorphosis. We were going to close with that song, but I could probably find the text, but it was something like, it'd be cool to have like a mad scientist talking about the growth of the butterfly or something like that. And like having this kind, you know, maybe creepy ambient sounds and then building into the opening song. And so that's what I ended up coming up with, was that introduction. And there's I don't remember who it is. It's a famous learning scientist guy, not Bill Nye, but in that same vein, talking about it. And I found a random clip and spliced all these things that worked perfectly together and put some keyboards and things like that in the background. And that's what it ended up being.
Now, I've seen you perform twice. I've only heard it once. So is that something that we plan on making a recurring theme?
It has been for over a year. We used that, I think, our very first show. Am I remembering that right? Yeah. So we've been doing it. We've been using it for a while. So not to spoil anything, but we've got some new cool stuff we're working on. We could talk about that later, but there will be a new intro, I will say.
I'll make note. So the next thing I want to talk about, the other song, is Suffocate. And the reason I want to talk about that one is it seems to have a message, but it also seems to have some some cool ambience to it. For example, breath work that's happening. So whose idea was it for the breath work?
So this is something I was going to say about Joe Viers. Joe Viers just gets my brain. I'll be like, listen, I really want to make a noise like this. Can you help me make it sound like this creepy thingy that I'm thinking? And he'll get these mics out and have me do some stuff, and we'll listen. And I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I was thinking. So I did a lot of reverse breathing where you suck in air instead of breathing into it, which is what that like stuff on that recording and Metamorphosis. I love breath work, and I love weird voices and kind of that creepy stuff. So yeah, that's kind of threaded in several of our songs.
I want to actually just say something. All the male vocals on that song are Joe, and they make really a big difference to kind of add into that. We can talk maybe more about the theme of the song, but like with that, the breathy stuff and the little effects, like that's all Joe doing that stuff, and it sounds great. It sounds good. Like it's, we love Evanescence, the song Bring Me to Life with that dual vocal type thing, and it's got similar thing, and it makes a big difference.
Did you do the scream on that one live, Joe? Like, did you do that one in the... Nice.
He did the scream.
Joe did that scream in my house, and we sent
That's even
that.
better. That's even
And
better.
it is, if you listen to that track raw, you would be like, holy crap, because it is, I have no idea how he did that, but I sent that to Joe Viers, and he's like, yeah, I don't need to do anything else. This is
What's
amazing.
funny is it sounds like it has distortion and some filters on it, but I've heard Joe do it live. It's not.
All right, Joe, show us.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. I wasn't expecting it, but
Oh my gosh.
On demand.
that's awesome, Joe. Thank you. All right.
What's up, buddy?
So let's talk about the message, Josh. You mentioned the message of the song. So, Emily, did you write the lyrics to this?
Yes.
All right. So what can you tell us?
So it's about just the pressure of life. Again, just one of those songs, whether it's relationship, whether it's spiritual, physical, addiction, whatever it is, that you're just trying to, that battle of oppression that's making you feel like you can't breathe.
Is there anything that you suffer with?
I would say I have some anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety, had a lot of crazy life situations that I've had to navigate in the last 10 to 15 years that maybe on another time we can talk about that, just different traumatic things in my life. And then, having a family where addiction is kind of threaded throughout that, suicide. I am one of 7 kids. I'm kind of in the middle, but I always say I'm in the middle, but I'm the oldest. So there's a lot of pressure.
Sure. Do you think that helped you with the delivery of that song?
Absolutely. Every time we're on stage or when I get to be on stage, and maybe everyone can agree, there's nothing like live performance and feeling like you are living, in your purpose, and how healing that can be, especially when you know that you have an impact on people who are watching you. And so I think, would I walk through some of those seasons again? No, but it definitely has shaped who I am now, and the story in my life. I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for those hard seasons. And so I have a lot of things that I want to write about. We've been talking about ideas coming up with the album that we're going to be working on. And obviously they're welcome to their input as well. But just, I have lists of concepts of, this happened and, just stories and things like that.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. I know every family has a set of challenges and every person has to find a way of dealing with it. But I only mention it because you have a way of delivering that song that you can feel a connection too. I mean, it was a great performance. It was a great performance all around.
Thank you.
All right, let's lighten it up a little bit. Josh, you mentioned new stuff. So what do we have on the horizon?
Well, the goal is we're looking to get an album out. I can't give you timing on that. We have quite a few ideas and a couple that are shaping up to get very close to where we're feeling confident about getting them recorded. So it'll probably be a few month project at least, I would say, but I think we're all energized and ready and excited. And if it doesn't make it to a full album, at the very least, it's going to be a cluster of songs. So that's the plan right now. I don't hold me to that too much, but that's the plan right now. But we're very very excited about these new songs because you said it. We've kind of, I think we've been getting better as each songs come out, and I think this next set of songs is going to be on that same trajectory.
Yeah.
So very excited about that.
All right. Do we have any sort of team of people helping behind the scenes that we don't get to see?
I would say yes. We've got some stuff brewing in the background right now. We're still considered a newer band, but we do have some things that we haven't officially come out and announced with a team that is working with us. We do have a marketing team that we've been working with for a couple months, and that's really helped us kind of learn more about meta and social media and the crazy world of how to navigate being an artist in this time period, because we've all been in bands, multiple bands for many years, and it's just a very different world now where you have to be schooled on how to do this. You have to be an influencer if you want to be on social media, pretty much. So we have a team that's working behind the scenes with us doing that, and then we've got some other things that aren't official that we've been having conversations with certain individuals that we're excited about too.
That's funny. You mentioned you have to be an influencer. You have a skill that I don't have, and that's the ability to just sit there and talk into your phone. I just cannot get myself to do that and have it come out natural. It just doesn't feel right to me.
It's not easy. I mean, it's like having another job. It really is. Especially when you have your own personal pages plus the band pages. It's very time consuming. So this team is really kind of helping us take the weight off of us a little bit with some of that.
Now, you mentioned creatively you have Joe in the studio to engineer and co-produce with you guys. Do you have anybody administratively? Do you have a manager or any booking agents or anybody on that side of the world?
We've been pretty much self-sufficient with booking. If we're going to extend the whole team process, we could go to the live setting. We do have a couple guys who have been dedicated to be stagehands. We're looking gearing towards locking in a sound guy or two that can kind of travel with us. Mm-hmm. Something we never really want to be compromised in the show. And eventually a lighting guy. So yeah, getting back to team, it definitely takes a village. Like Emily said, there's a lot changing, a lot of moving parts. Even the socials is a job in of itself to keep people engaged. It's a constantly revolving market now of videos and reels and stories and posts, and to stay in that without oversaturating it, but making sure you stay plugged in is a balance in of itself.
I'm going to include Josh's wife, Rachel, in this as well, since she helps out so much with kind of whatever we need, whether it's being at the merch booth while we're on stage or running to grab something for us. So she's come in clutch numerous times.
Yeah.
My number one fan.
Number one fan.
I thought I was your number one, Josh.
And Leo. We're looking into management. We've had some conversations. We've had people interested, but again, it's really being able to discern who is genuine and who isn't. There's a lot of commercialized management teams out there that it's just not a good deal. And so we really want to work with the right person or people behind the scenes that can really help. And it's hard. Everything is hard. So that's one thing that we're looking into to kind of help as we're moving forward and growing and trying to get to the next level. We're ready for that. And it is the thing that we're spending some time looking into currently.
What would you hope to get out of having a manager?
I mean, obviously getting booked more shows, more quality shows, helping kind of take care of some of that administrative stuff.
Kind of keeping everything streamlined efforts. It can be a lot, conflicting schedules and managers looking out ahead, like she said, with booking and everything. Just something a little more clear, concise, and streamlined as far as pushing the business and, where's that balance of getting the album done, of getting out there and sponsoring that and pushing that live show in the live setting. So someone to kind of help facilitate those things and figure out where's the market need us at this point in time.
Well, and also somebody that kind of sees the vision with us, right? And they're there to kind of make sure that that vision comes true, right? So like as we all kind of come together and figure out what it is that we do and want to achieve, right? It's that person that comes in and makes sure that we're staying true to that, but then all of the kind of outside vendors and people that we work with understand that as well, just keeping that sort of through line on what we're looking to achieve.
And just keeping the mental availability available for everybody in the band, because when you try to do too much stuff, you're not going to want to do it anymore. And that's just the reality of it. And if you get somebody that supports you and knows what they're doing and wants to help, that's the way you're going to succeed. So we're getting more and more into those spaces, and that's been very good. And I really do think that the next year is going to be a big year for us.
Well, I look forward to it. All right, guys. Well, we do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who works behind the scenes or somebody who may have supported you along the way. Do you have anybody you'd like to shine a little light on?
I think we got to go talk about Alan.
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going.
Tell me about Alan.
So Alan, he was with one of my brothers, former band with us with Lift the Medium. He was stagehands. He's come along with this project, really taken a liking to the band. Super incredible human being and just kind of an all-around great guy, always there for us, stagehands, helping us load, just a positive presence in the room to begin with, and always kind of believed in us. So definitely grateful for his presence and his help, so far in this band with all that we do. And he's definitely been partial to a lot of that enjoyment, especially in the live show.
All right, folks. Well, we have done it. We have reached the top of the hour. We've actually blown past the top of the hour, which does mean we have reached the end of the show. If you've enjoyed the show, please tell a friend. And if you have not, well, tell two. You can reach out to all of us tonight over at jfrenzy.com. We will keep this or any other conversation going. My friends, I cannot thank you enough for being here, and I would like to leave the final words to you.
Well, first of all, Jay, thanks for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Great host. Also, just for all the support you've given us so far since you owned the band. It's been great to know you. Yeah, we'll have a bunch of hopefully new stuff coming out here by the end of year, I would say. So stay tuned for that. And if you guys have not heard our latest single, Metamorphosis, we are on all streaming platforms, anything you can listen to music to at Archer's Gate.
And we are available for booking, so book us.
And if you want us to come play at your big festival, we're here. Yep.
Or a house party.
Thank you, Jay, for, again, just the article that you wrote about us and all the kind things that you said. It was very detailed, and we were just very humbled by everything that you wrote. And thank you for having us on. It's been awesome.
My pleasure, folks. On that note, have a good night. All right, well, time for a few shout-outs. First, let's go ahead and shout out High Mountain Breezes Music. They are right in the middle of finishing their next single. However, if you haven't had a chance to check out their current single, Cats in the Cradle, please do so. They did a very good job. I think you'll be impressed. VR Knives. Vaughn Ray. He is not only a rock star, he is a knife maker. And if you are in need of a knife, please check out VR Knives. The Mark Bottolato. Mark, sir, thank you for joining us each and every week. I truly do appreciate it. Miss Kathy, thank you for joining us. It makes my heart warm every time I see you here in the show. And the question of the day, James. James, sir, thank you for joining us. I truly appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all that you do to contribute to the show. If you would like a shout out here on the show, please go ahead and visit jfrenzy.com/shoutout. All right, folks, on that note, have a good night.